Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How Much Dumber Will This Get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and J.D. Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is. Some highlights. She calls the Trump administration hypocritical, dangerous, and dumb over this story. "It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me. It's the stupidity. We're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws." I mean, this is so rich given her history. But we knew that already. This is her just trying to say, like, I did nothing wrong and my whole controversy was made up. No one actually cares about any of that because they're not blaming Trump harder, and Trump allowed this in the first place. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. That's dangerous, and it's just dumb. Okay, I mean, fine. I really think Hillary Clinton should have sat this one out, given she's in no position to throw stones. She did this willingly. She had her homebrew server for years, an intentional choice. Actually, we do need to stop and take that one for years, an intentional choice that she's trying to be like, no one really gave a shit about that. This is far worse. This unintentional mistake that was done by adding in the journalist. And yes, they intentionally chose Signal to have the discussion on, but we've already heard in recent days, Mark, that this was a means of communication used by the Biden administration. I just think she should have had Bill write it. She should have had some friend of hers on Team Blue write it. Someone other than the person with this brand of problems.
Well, in Arkansas, we have a word for it. We call it chutzpah. Look, Dan knows Hillary Clinton better than I do, but you can hear her voice in that thing. There may have been some ghostwriting help, but that's her. And she has the rare honor, along with Kamala Harris, of losing presidential elections to Donald Trump. And she will never get over it. And I understand why you're saying she shouldn't have been the one to write it. But it's a pretty good enunciation of the view of tens of millions of people about what's going on. And the Clintons, both Clintons, they just love the national town square. They don't want to be away from it. I will also say that she has, not just because she lost to Donald Trump, but because of her worldview, she has a genetic inability to stay off of the stand to criticize him. It's in her craw. She cannot help herself. And I'm surprised that she's been relatively low key in the first 100 days here, because she is, I know from talking to her friends, she's very engaged on this in a day-to-day capacity.
Here's what really galls me, Sean. She writes that as Secretary of State under Obama, she used smart power, while Trump is now using dumb power. As Secretary of State during the Obama administration, I argued for smart power, integrating the hard power of our military with the soft power of our diplomacy, development assistance, economic might, and cultural influence. None of those tools can do the job alone. Together, they make America a superpower. The Trump approach is dumb power. I believe she's talking about, among other things, Ukraine, where she was Secretary of State when we went over there. And to say we meddled in their election is to understate where we are today as a result of that meddling, in part, for which she takes no responsibility. She just talks about how smart she was and the way she manipulated the world and how dumb Trump is, who's now, again, having to clean up a massive Democrat-fueled, if not made, but at least fueled mess that's cost countless numbers of lives.
Yeah. If she still has that reset button that she handed Sergei Lavrov, maybe she wants to take a do-over on this op-ed and get a reset there. I mean, this is the woman who literally brought a reset button to try to make a joke over our relationship with Russia. and wants to lecture somebody else about that. I really wouldn't go there. Then to go into the classified issue after having kept all of your stuff on an unclassified server, wiping it with bleach blit. I just, there are days when you go, you might want to sit this one out. This was one.
Wait, one quick follow-up for you on it, Sean. Then she goes on to say, she criticizes him for de-emphasizing the importance of embassies. Oh my God. Why would she touch anything having to do with an embassy or a diplomatic facility after Benghazi?
There's a million. I literally feel like she's the one who let someone in her chat that shouldn't have gotten in and wrote that op-ed. Because it was her. I know. That's where it's like, I wish she could have at least blamed that on somebody and used the reset button. But it's just embarrassing how clueless and how unself-aware she is of her own vulnerabilities. That because it's not just that.
Right.
When she does stuff like this, it means the Democrats have to answer for it. We have to talk. We get to talk about it. This is one where you literally say, "I'll write it for you," and then hand it off to somebody else, or just sit this one out, or don't send it into the New York Times. Write it in your journal, or put it on your unclassified server and keep it for yourself. I know.
Remember how she tried to act bored during the Benghazi hearings, like, my God, I just didn't listen to this nonsense.
Well, also,
she definitely doesn't think her homebrew server or cell phones were wrong either. Go ahead.
But for just one thing we lost in the conversation about Signalgate was that the president and his team knocked out all of those Houthi targets. No lives were lost. Targets were hit. The Biden administration lost 13 lives coming out of Afghanistan. She dealt with Benghazi. If we want to talk about missions and diplomacy and actions, I'll take the Trump record over her record, over Biden's record any day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, we lost an ambassador. Like she's just kind of like, the embassies, there's a de-emphasis. Would you like to have the embassy conversation? Because we could do that. We could definitely get back into it. You purported to be bored about it. I know you like this thing, Dan. How did you like this thing?
So I actually loved it. I will fully admit all the things. Yes, all the things that you guys both said and Mark, that she may not be necessarily the best messenger for the reasons that you guys all said. But I think she fully believes it. She's throwing punches. And I think the party has sat around frozen since Trump got elected. They're exhausted. They don't know what to do. They're questioning, all their strategies and tactics the last 4 or 5 years against Trump. And I think to Mark's point, she sits there and Hillary Clinton is, if nothing else, one tough SOB. And I think she's just like, gosh darn it, we need to stand up and start saying stuff, and I'll do it. And I give her credit. She knows exactly what we're saying are all the warts about her, and she's not going to be our candidate in 2028. But she is trying to give some steel to the spine of Democrats to just say common sense, as we see it, stuff, and get in the game and start trying to go at him instead of just sitting around in the fetal position getting rolled.
Dan, do you think your donors on the Dem side or House rank and file House members were excited to see that op-ed in the New York Times this morning?
I think they were probably not excited to see the name for the reasons that we all just, but I think they probably say, all right, she's getting off the sideline. Like I think, and we may get to this has been the best week for Democrats probably since August of last year. Kind of optimism going into the convention. There was less coming out of it, but I think they're like, all right, now Hillary's in the game.
She's one of the few people in the party who's an aircraft carrier who can take the fight to Trump with clarity. And while the answer is some donors were not happy to see it, I know some were, not because it was her, but because, as Dan said, they need someone to enunciate the contrast. Bill Clinton could do it. Barack Obama could do it. They won't. Because they're former presidents, but she will. And so she's an imperfect messenger, obviously. But go read it and take the name off of it, and you'll see a lot of stuff, as Dan said, Democrats want to hear somebody saying.
You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat's already sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy's already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice, as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you, and you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, just text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.